to talk about what they're seeing, and it's soundproof, so you close the door and you can actually have the microphones on, but you don't disturb the lesson. And it means that 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 teachers can all go into that facility and talk about the learning without it disturbing the classroom. Now, obviously not every school has that, and we use it in a very strict protocol. It's not used in any way to judge teachers. We don't ever use it for judging that. It's mostly used for open lessons, where we just invite colleagues to come and watch a lesson and then talk about what they've seen. We use it for ITT. There is a video facility, so we can film. We have got cameras in the room as well. I'm tending not to use it for the cameras though. People tend to book through me. I teach in there for sort of a half timetable so that other people can book the room out. But I'd say more often than not it's to do with open lessons or departments just saying we'd like to watch a colleague teach this particular group. And you know, the NFL department were in there recently with their head of department was teaching, so that they could all see how he taught a concept. So that's much more accurate, you know, in thinking about the original use of lesson study. But we don't use it in any way, I don't know, in a compulsory way. Nobody is obliged to use the observation classroom at all. We don't use it for performance management. It's much more on a sort of one-to-one basis. And it's a facility that I've just been trying to plug a little bit, but I think the lesson study stuff has really come out here because it means that more than 2 people can actually watch the lesson at the same time and talk about it. And we found some really interesting things when we decided, okay, we're going to look at 3 rhinos. We're going to look at some rhinos. So the first rhino that we saw, sounds awkward, isn't it? Was Mr. Lover. Now, I wrote about him and my dogs. I'm sorry if you've read it and you've heard it all before. But we were watching a lesson with an MFL colleague, and we have a BINCO in school now, Behaviour Intervention Coordinator. So he used to work in lots of units and he's done lots of behavioural studies, and he's come to work in our our house, which is our intervention house. And we were watching through the screen, and suddenly Simon, our BINCO, said, look at him there, nearest the glass. Because we always tell the students we're filming or we're watching them, and they always forget about 5 minutes after being told, because they always do their hair right in front of your face. You can be behind the screen and they'll all start doing their hair, and you know that they've forgotten that you're there. So Simon said, look at him. And it was brilliant. He had it down to a fine art. This lad was sitting on a table with some other colleagues, with his peers, and he had decided to show a little bit of the charm to this girl that was sitting opposite him. But he didn't do it in such a way that the teacher noticed, and it was a very skilled teacher. The teacher was going around, is everybody doing what they need to do? Yes, and circulating. Every time Matt, the teacher, turned his back, this lad would just sort of loosen off a little bit and go back into his chair and be like this across the table with the girl and twiddling his pen and doing all that. It was almost like watching a wildlife programme because honestly, he was behaving, he was preening, and he was actually courting. We said, isn't this funny? Matt will notice this in a minute, Matt will notice this. And as soon as Matt came over, he picked his pen up and he just made sure that he'd done the minimum amount of work needed so that Matt couldn't say, oh, come on, you know, you need to get on with that. And every time he came over, everybody okay on this table? Yes, thanks, sir. Thanks. No, that's great, yeah. And he knew exactly what Matt wanted to hear as well. He wasn't one of those students who was messing about with their pen, so Matt would go straight out, come on, you need to do this, I'm going to move you. He did nothing wrong as far as Matt was concerned. And Matt did nothing wrong, I don't think either. He didn't, he wasn't on Matt's radar, and I don't blame him for not being, I don't blame Matt for not having this lad on his radar. But because we were sitting this far away from him and watching him, we said, isn't that fascinating? You just wouldn't pick up on this child in class. So we thought, well, what could Matt do to counter that? What can Matt do to actually hone in on this particular lad, who, when we looked at his data, and we talked to Matt about it afterwards, is cruising on a C, will easily get a C for GCSE, could be on an A, really. But again, with the 3 levels progress business, he needs to push himself to get a B. He could get an A though, you know, if we pushed him to the 4 levels of progress, but he's not on our radar. So what could Matt do, I just thought I'd ask you for a moment, with this student who is lovely, but is doing everything he can in his power to not engage in that lesson? I wonder if you could just have a little chat with your people on your sort of row for a moment and come back with what Matt possibly can do. This is what lessons usually mortified to hear that this student had been such a lazy off at this lesson. He just said, what can I do? Give me some tips. You know, he was willing, so we sort of had to come round. So what advice would you give to my lovely colleague Matt? Any ideas? Might be very, very simple things that we can tweak. Yeah.
Well, don't ask how's it going.
Yes.
Ask a learning question.
Yeah. So a question.
A learning question.
Yeah.
Give me an answer.
Yes.
Okay. Or ask the person next to him what he's taught you.
Yes. Okay, that's fantastic. That's something really quick and easy. We can just say, how about that, Matt? And he'd say, of course. Yes. I didn't do that because I thought this table was doing so well and they were fine, but you're absolutely right. Yes. Asking something more searching. Brilliant. That's such an easy thing to do. And it seems obvious. And this is a really, really conscientious teacher. But he just needed that little nudge and he said, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. Anything else that you would suggest?
You said tweak the learning, those seats, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. But not near a mirror. Because he's like a huge budgie. He wouldn't look at, if he's not looking at the girl, he'd be looking at himself, wouldn't he? So yes, away. So back when he's back in Matt's classroom again, what position, if Matt likes tables and he likes doing group work, where should this lad be in relation to him? Because Matt doesn't like using rows very much. Where should he put tables? Where should he sit in? Do you still be quite strict with your seating?
On the sort of, I had them quite near the front and sort of on the outside, so he wasn't sort of penned out and away, thinking he wasn't really part of it, quite central to where you were spending a lot of your time.
Yeah, so just a little tweak with the seating could make all the difference as
But
well.
also where he can't see the rest of the room.
Yeah.
So the kids on the inside looking at a wall and just reverse opposite.
Those dictionaries.
Yeah.
Exactly right. But again, three things then that we could that evolved from a lesson study that Matt didn't notice through no fault of his own, but he will use now in his teaching, that we could go back then. The next we say we fancy doing another one in 6 weeks' time. We can have a look, and hopefully we'll be able to see this boy on task. And then we've also got the idea we can look through his books and we can see where the progress has been, and we can actually see whether he's engaged with his learning. Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and we must want to take people and kind of all sorts of stamps to a left, right, and the other. I don't usually like, but I started using the feedback stamps, and then I noticed some students, when I last stamped it, you come back and there's like half a question done since the last time, and I've had time to go around the whole class, and then it's like, well, I've been around the whole class.
Yes.
And that's what you've done since the last time I spoke to you.
Yeah.
And that kind of did not much to one thing.
Yeah, that's a great one. You can actually use your pen even for that.
Yeah.
That's the last time I saw you, but the stamp is great as well because it sort of puts a little bit more sort of, I don't know, it makes it more serious really when you've got a statement there in your stamp, what have you. So another student that we looked at was somebody who again is lovely and spent the whole lesson, this was on a different occasion, watching an English lesson, spent the whole lesson purposely staying off the radar. And this was a pupil premium student who is under-attaining and needs intervention, and we were thinking, well, rather than just put him into a generic intervention session, what specifically could we do in the classroom before we trigger anything else off? So what can we say to Mark now, this our other teacher? This lad was sitting with two very loud girls on a table with two very loud girls, and he positioned himself so that he was actually not looking very much at the front, and this was quite a low ability Year 7 group actually as well. But we noticed that he also hadn't written an awful lot in the lesson. This was somebody I would say was perhaps less active than the previous teacher, but because there were no behaviour problems coming up, again, he was assuming that everything was okay, and he wouldn't have noticed what had happened until he'd taken the books in and seen that this little lad had written not an awful lot at all. Have you got any ideas, again, really simple things that you could suggest to this teacher? But without, this is the nice thing about lesson study, because you're not criticising his teaching as such, but you are improving things that he can do to his teaching to increase the impact. So So anything that you think we might have fed back to Mark, I was watching it with the students actually, the trainees, and they came up with some crackers. Anything you think? He's a little lad, he doesn't want to look at you very much, and he will quite happily just sort of sit there. Doesn't put his hand up.
I think we have a no hands up policy, so
Yes.
you actually pick students if you want to ask a question. So
Yeah. And I think also be very careful with that, because obviously he's somebody who doesn't want to appear on the radar and might feel a bit exposed if you just do the lolly sticks or something like that. So it's questioning through your relationships, but you're absolutely right, yes, spot on. Sorry.
So I'd give him the pot of lolly sticks and I'd ask him to put the names out for me.
Ah,
So he would be included in a lesson, but it wouldn't be in a very non-threatening way. He'd just be choosing the next
but
name
he's
for me.
central, everybody's looking at him then, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Sorry. In terms of the lolly sticks, I put a joker in mine. So sometimes it comes out as a joker, and if a joker means they can put their hands up and they go completely hysterical because they're allowed to put them up. But also, thinking of him, you could use the joker as either you can put your hands up or you can pass.
Yeah.
And then you get a pass. Or another way of doing a different joker, which you get to keep it, like you get out a jail free card, and if you're asked a question and he's not ready for it, he can use it once to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting him to actually be included in the lesson more than anything, isn't it? Yeah. But that's a safe option, isn't it, so that he's not feeling too exposed. Harry?
So I guess it depends where you're starting from, but I always do the lolly sticks thing, and I don't let people step out of it. And actually, if I've got people, for a while I was doing a thing where I'd read their reflection forms every term, and I'd pick up the ones who would write like, I'm not working very hard, as they always do in the reflection form, and I used my jokers to be those people. So the jokers, what they then did was they got called about twice as often as everyone else, so they got used to having to be engaged in the lesson, and I found that was quite helpful.
I think that is it as well. It sort of makes it the norm rather than something that's different in any way. Yeah.
Try to develop his confidence a little bit by giving an opportunity to collaborate before he gives his answer. So maybe think fair share, something like that. Take the ideas from the rest of the table and then share it with the rest of the class.
I think that was it. Mark had tried that actually, and because it's a great. The thing is, he was sitting in a three. It's a very small class, and they were sort of spread out. And one of the students said, "Why don't you do some pair work?" And Mark actually said at one point, "Right, talking in twos and pair." And the two girls, right, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
He just sort of listened and nodded.
Well, I was just going to say, I would say to the girls, I'm going to ask you what he has said. And then actually that's great, because he doesn't have to give the answer to the whole class. They have to sit and listen to him. So in a think patient, you have to ask people to share what they've heard. Otherwise, the loud kid talks in the pair, then the loud kid shares the answer with the class, and the quiet kid does nothing.
A lot of it's actually down to questioning skill,
Yeah.
isn't it? And your skill as a teacher in that way.
Well, I got challenged when I first started teaching, I remember, and the personal burden was mental. Did you notice that you kind of only ever talked to half the class? I didn't notice actually. And so then she was like, I'm going to give you a challenge, like for the next week I want you to make sure that in every single class you talk to every single kid. And I was like, how am I ever going to do it? That's not possible to do. But then, so then I did. But the thing I did is I asked my class to help me, because I was like, look, this is the thing I've got to do. Can you remind me if I don't talk to anybody, please? And then they got into the habit of it. So kind of at the last 15 minutes, I'd be like, look, have I spoken to him? And she didn't talk to me, or you didn't talk to whatever it was. And then they just started to get me in the habit, and now it's a routine. They know that
And I think that's it as well. You hit the nail on the head. It's embedded routines that actually allow you as a teacher then to start using those in your teaching repertoire, if you like. And the feedback that we're able to give to Mark now will be about that. And I did say to him, some classes aren't suited to this type of seating plan. I think maybe you need to do a bit of turn round to the front, because they haven't got brilliant attention spans, and they need to know that you're their teacher and you're leading them, and they're not ready for that type of seating. But he just needed permission to do that, and having it from a number of people, not just me, it was from the trainees, and it was lovely being able to see the trainees empowered to, what do you think? And they were a bit sort of, well, he's been teaching for 6 years, I don't want to tell. No, what do you think? What can you see? What can you see through this glass that we've watched? And what could you see if you go in pairs? And what can you see if we just go into a classroom and then talk about those students? And that way, it's really very powerful. Now, I won't, I'm running over again. So we've had the suggestions, and we've got the easily distracted, and they are basically, you sit there, mate, right there, and you don't turn around, and you more or less wear blinkers. So that's fine. Horrible blinkers. Now, this is very small writing, so I'll read it out if you like. But I asked one of the trainees last week who was having problems with one of her classes, go and do a lesson study and choose 2 of those really difficult year 7s. So she went to a